want to welcome you to another episode of the Warzone and tell you thank you for taking the time out to tune in. You know, without you guys, I wouldn't have a show. And I really appreciate you taking the time out to come and hang out with me every night. I was sitting around thinking, really just sitting around. Oh,
In a world full of fakes.
I was sitting around thinking about the reasons that I changed political parties. It really had nothing to do with national politics or even, you know, the things that go on with national politics. It has something to do with local. And I think that if you're going to be in office, then you should have your character should never be in question. Your ability to be honest should never be in question. But then I started going back and I started thinking about some of the things that I had seen from politicians. So tonight we want to ask the question, why does the Black community continue to support failed, embarrassing Black politicians? We'll start it off like this. Let's go in here and start it off like this.
How to avoid buying fake items that look just like the real thing. Are you getting faked over? Experts say it's all in the details.
When you try a case against me, you better be ready to work.
She's known for being a TV star and an attorney. But in this letter, obtained by KHU 11 News, State Representative Jolanda Jones' entire staff resigns, citing four main complaints. The first, the staffers allege Representative Jones's son was having an inappropriate relationship with an intern. Second, they accuse Jones of asking staffers to coordinate meetings in the state office to discuss her personal finances and property taxes. Third, according to these staffers, Jones has displayed physically threatening behavior, leaving them concerned for their safety. And fourth, they allege Jones threatened to fire staffers if they did not comply with her demands. The Speaker of the Texas House confirmed the allegations are under review, saying the Speaker's office takes all allegations seriously and expects that this matter will be addressed and resolved as soon as possible.
So as you can see, that's one instance. But then I was thinking, okay, well, that's Jolanda. Let's go back and see who else has embarrassed us.
Begin with breaking news. A former HISD trustee found guilty in a civil trial in federal court. Now, this all stems from pay-to-play allegations. Eyewitness News has been the only station to cover this story from the beginning.
Eyewitness News reporter Ted Oberg is joining us live downtown this afternoon with this exclusive story. Ted?
Hey, Alona, it's hard to believe that this case has reached a verdict. It was filed in 2010 when this businessman claimed that he lost HISD contracts because he wouldn't pay Marshall's business associate as a consultant. Well, today, one juror we spoke with called Larry Marshall's behavior both disgusting and reprehensible and said HISD had a culture of cronyism and pay to play.
Ted!
I'm fine.
Minutes after a federal jury decided against longtime HISD trustee Larry Marshall in a stinging and far-reaching verdict, Marshall still denied he'd done anything wrong.
I respect the jury decision.
Well, does that mean you're willing to admit you were corrupt?
Absolutely not.
In this civil case, Marshall was accused of being at the top of a pay-to-play scheme, earning him tens of thousands of dollars from would-be HISD vendors. Jurors who did not want to appear on camera called the district's behavior embarrassing and were particularly concerned HISD may have worked to cover up Marshall's wrongdoing.
I feel like there's finally some form of vindication.
Gil Ramirez, the man who sued Larry Marshall after refusing to be a part of his pay-to-play scheme, stands to get more than $4 million after the verdict. His team hopes it also sends the district a message.
What we hope is that there'll be a moment of calm among the leadership, among the staff and new administration at HISD. They'll look at what happened here today and they'll change the way they do business, because I can assure you if it doesn't, things will only get worse there.
HISD was not being sued in this case, but may still be on the hook for some of these damages. That decision won't be made until some more hearings down here at federal court. HISD, by the way, has had no comment, but they called me just now during this story, and we'll let you know their response here as soon as we get it. Live downtown, I'm Ted Oberg, 13 Eyewitness News.
So that was Larry Marshall in 2016. So let's flip it, man. Let's see who else did I come up with.
The FBI in Houston says former Houston ISD COO Brian Busby and former contract vendor Anthony Hutchison have both been indicted on public corruption charges, the two making their first appearance in court today. ABC 13's Micah Hatfield has been following this story since the day the FBI raided Busby's home. She joins us live with more on this, and we understand he just walked out. Micah.
He did, and we followed him down the street. He's just right down here. I asked him if he had anything to say, if he accepted the kickbacks that the FBI is alleging that he accepted. He said he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't have anything to say. Anthony Hutchison, the other man who was also arrested this morning, was also released just a few minutes ago. I'm told they were arrested at their homes this morning without incident. They went before a federal judge this afternoon with their hands shackled to their waist, surrounded by attorneys. This was not a sudden arrest. This investigation, I'm told, has been going on since 2018. The prosecutor calling it a very complex white-collar crime. There are dozens of pages of court documents that lay out what's being called a scheme to at Houston Independent School District. At the center of it is Brian Busby, who you just saw a couple of minutes ago in the courthouse. He started working in the late 90s, working his way up from the chief operating officer, the position he held until he was let go last year. He's accused of accepting bribes from Anthony Hutchison, the other man who was just released. He's the owner of Southwest Wholesale. The company was contracted by HISD to perform ground maintenance and landscaping on several of their campuses. Court documents say Hutchison submitted invoices for work that was not done, and that he charged HISD inflated prices for materials needed for the jobs his team did complete. The prosecutor says he overbilled the district $7 million. They say Busby is accused of to push payments to Southwest Wholesale through and receiving kickbacks for awarding Hutchison's company contracts. Court records show that Hutchison paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to remodel Busby's home. Investigators also say that between 2016 and 2020, Busby deposited $2.6 million into various bank accounts, and that money was money in addition to his and his wife's salaries.
That Brian Busby was a loyal employee of HISD for all his adult life. He went from janitor to chief operating officer without a sniff of any kind of illegality. He's not taken a bribe. He hadn't paid any bribes. He's innocent, and a fair jury is going to say that.
Busby and Hutchison aren't alone. Several other former HISD employees, including the former school board president, have pleaded guilty to a count of conspiracy for their role. Court documents alleging they accepted thousands of dollars from Hutchison, and those 5 will be sentenced in May. Like I said, both men were released from custody just a couple of minutes ago as we were coming on the air. Part of their bond conditions, though, are that they do not have any contact with current or former HISD employees or any witnesses in the case. They're accused of trying to intimidate witnesses.
So, you see that I tried to get this last video but I couldn't get it. So let's just open the screen and see what we come up with. Former HISD trustee accepted bribes as part of alleged kickback scheme. Former HISD trustee Rhonda Skillen Jones, who served public schools in the Oak Forest area for the better part of the decade, pled guilty to federal conspiracy charges and admitted to accepting thousands of dollars in bribes as part of an alleged kickback scheme involving a school vendor, according to a Thursday news release by the U.S. Department of Justice. The DOJ and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Texas announced that former HISD Chief Operating Officer Brian Busby and Anthony Hutchinson, who was contracted by HISD to perform construction and ground maintenance services, were arrested. They were arrested Thursday and have been indicted by a federal grand jury on the charges of conspiracy, bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds and witness tampering. Hutchinson also has been charged with wire fraud, according to the DOJ. The indictment named Skillen Jones, who served as an HISD trustee from 2012 to 2019 and was board president in 2015 and 18, and 4 former HISD employees as alleged co-conspirators. The Department of Justice said all 5 have pled guilty to conspiracy charges as part of a plea agreement they entered, with each facing up to 5 years in prison. Skillen Jones, who served as a Houston Community College trustee since being elected to the role in 2019, didn't immediately respond to a text message seeking comment. Today's arrest and related charges are the result of a lengthy, multifaceted FBI Houston investigation. Richard A. Collada, the acting special agent in charge for the FBI's Houston office, said in a news release, Houston taxpayers and thousands of HISD students, along with their teachers and staff, are the potential victims of this alleged multi-million-dollar public corruption scheme. The FBI will continue to work to hold accountable public officials who fail their community by accepting bribes and those who pay bribes. The indictment alleges from 2011 to 2020, Hutchinson was contracted to provide ground maintenance, landscaping, and irrigation services at multiple HISD properties and including schools in the Heights, Garden Oaks, and Oak Forest areas, and systematically overbilled HISD for grass mowing jobs and playground mulch. Hutchinson allegedly paid a portion of his boosted funds to Busby in the form of cash and free home remodeling, according to the indictment. The indictment also alleges that Hutchinson paid cash bribes to Skillen Jones, the former board president, and the 4 former HISD employees in exchange for obtaining purchase orders for construction, repair, landscaping, and maintenance jobs with HISD. The 4 former employees who entered plea agreements, according to the DOJ, are Derek Sanders, Alfred Hoskins, and Jerron Hall and Louis Tolliver. The DOJ said Skillen Jones, as part of her plea agreement, admitted to accepting bribe payments from Hutchinson in exchange for placing and voting for an item on the HISD board agenda in 2017 for an expenditure of funds for school landscaping and construction projects that were awarded to Hutchinson. Busby allegedly facilitated the bribery relationship between Hutchinson and Skillen Jones and personally delivered bribe payments to Skillen Jones, which cites an approximately $12,000 payment made to Skillen Jones in 2017. Named in the indictment are multiple HISD schools where projects were performed as part of the alleged kickback scheme, including Browning and Durham schools, Garden Oaks, Monastery Magnet, Waltrip, and Booker T. Washington High School. The FBI raided HISD headquarters at 4400 West 18th Street in early 2020 while investigating the alleged kickback scheme. The DOJ said Thursday that more than $186,000 in cash was allegedly discovered by authorities during the execution of search warrants last year at the homes of Busby and Hutchinson. HISD fully cooperated with the federal investigation into actions that allegedly took place from 2011 to 2020, which led to the charges that were made public today. HISD said in a statement, an indictment in previous statements by HISD, as indicated in previous statements by HISD, from the time that HISD became aware of the federal investigation in February 2020, HISD provided information as requested by law enforcement with respect to the investigation. As that criminal investigation process, HISD also implemented additional internal procedures to safeguard against the type of conduct in the charges announced today. No person charged in connection with the indictments announced today is currently employed by HISD. I showed you four different instances where elected officials misused the offices that they were elected to. All of them were Black. And the sad part is we as a Black community don't have the guts to call them out. We don't have the balls to say what needs to be said some days. And therefore, we continuously get the short end of the stick. Jolanda Jones, with her cutting up there in Austin, first of all, everybody know that every office this lady has held, from city council to school board and now state rep, there's been controversy. There has been controversy. But yet, after the school board, debacle, the organizations, the Black organizations, Texas Coalition of Black Democrats, the Baptist ministers, all put the muscle behind her to send her up to Austin. And my question now is very, very simple. What the hell is wrong with us? You saw Larry Marshall, former disgraced HISD trustee. He was like the godfather when he sat on the school board. And he had all kinds of deals going. We've heard about the supposedly antics of former HISD trustee Paula Harrison. Now she works for the Houston Astros. The thing that bugs me and perplexes me the most is the Black community is the community that's in the most need. And we continue to put these people in office and not give a damn about how they conduct themselves while they're there. Whether it's blowing up, which that comes with the game. I can deal with you cussing somebody out if you're in public office. But I can't deal with the corruption. I just can't deal with the corruption. And the sad part about it, you got folk walking around here like they gonna hold people accountable. But yet when it's a Black politician, and it seems to keep coming up, they do nothing. We ain't even gonna talk about my man Chris Oliver at HCC when he got caught up. And he had to give 5 years. He had to do 5 years in the federal penitentiary. And this ain't been that long ago. And, the sad part is we're hurting. We're hurting. But I can't keep sitting here and acting like we're hurting because white folk or Republicans are hurting us. No, we're hurting because of our Black representation. And I keep trying to tell that to people. And the craziness about it is we will not hold these people accountable. If you bring up something about a Black politician getting caught up in a scandal where something illegal has happened, the first thing somebody's gonna say is well, when did it happen? Who gives a damn when it happened? Who cares when it happened? I mean, right now you got, and you saw me do the story last night on Verna Caddy and her giving away presidential awards. And she's giving an award away to James Dunn, a Republican, since it's a Joe Biden award and she couldn't give it to certain people because they were Republicans. But she's giving it to James Dunn. And James Dunn is a black guy that's in politics, runs the Republican Party of Brazoria County. And he went to jail for defrauding the U.S. Department of Education. And Verna Caddy and her organization doesn't see anything wrong with honoring a criminal that stole from kids. But everybody has a problem with this TEA takeover. And when you look at what I was just talking about, a lot of that stuff happened during the time that they were in the middle of the lawsuit. See, we don't have a problem with certain people. See, we got a problem with Gary Monroe, who tried to run for office twice. And, well, he curses and he drinks, but I ain't never stole nothing from nobody. I ain't never violated no law. But you can't support me because of what? But you can keep supporting them because you're all in it together. So I had this open. Hold on. Let me double check. Let me open another screen. And I want to show you something. Because we're going to come up to right now. That's what we're going to do. We're going to come up to right now. And let's see if I can share this screen. Okay. I sent an email to myself because I have multiple emails. And I'm going to see if I can make it bigger. Let's see. Can I make this bigger? I want to see if I can make it bigger. Hold on. Here we go. I think that's about all I can do. But I'll get to this in a second. Now you're in 2023. You're in 2023. Whether they're illegal or immoral does not matter to me. Messing over the community in any way, shape, form, or fashion should not be tolerated. The white community doesn't deal with it. The Latino community doesn't deal with it. The Asian community doesn't deal with it. LGBTQ does not deal with it. But the black community will deal with it. Immoral acts by our elected officials or people that represent organizations and entities that directly impact the African American community should not be tolerated. I got so many stories of city council people when the hurricanes come through, supposed to be passing out. No, that's not wild law, sweetheart. That's not wild laws. But a lot of people, they really just don't get it. And I want to read your comment. I got to address this. The reason you lost is because you didn't have an experienced campaign manager who knows how to attack and dig up dirt on your competition. That's not why I lost. I got the dirt. I got more than enough dirt. That's not why I lost. You didn't want to put an honest man in office. You didn't want to put a God-fearing man in office. You didn't want to put somebody in office that you knew you couldn't corrupt. Somebody that has a backbone to stand up and tell you no. And that's what we need in the African American community. And there's multiple people that actually fit the bill. But I want to talk to you about two leaders, and we'll go right back into what they, how they do this thing. Right now, you're in the middle of a TEA takeover, and you have two prominent African American leaders. Retha Thomas, who's over the bus driver and custodial union and the food workers. you have Jackie White Anderson, who's over the Houston Federation of Teachers. But nobody's calling these people out. Nobody called out Jolanda. Nobody called out Larry Marshall. Nobody called out Brian Busby. Nobody called out anybody. Rhonda Skillen Jones. Nobody called out Chris Oliver. Nobody said anything about these people. But when Trump says grab him by the, we need to put him under the federal penitentiary. I'm just using that as an example. I want to use that as an example, but I need to focus on Retha Thomas and Jackie White Anderson. I want to open a screen, and I want to go down here. Let's go here. Let's open this up. Okay, so you can see this. This is a text that went out yesterday to union members. It says, hi, and the name has been redacted, with your union HFT. We need to move all members who are currently on payroll deductions over to bank drafts. The takeover is fast approaching, and you need to be switched over and protected before it comes. Do not wait. Do it now. We must not let TEA cripple HFT. We can only remain HFT union strong if we are united. And we are in a crisis, and now is the time to act. Reply yes to receive the online membership form to make the switch. That is a text that went out from HFT, which is the president is Jackie White Anderson. If you look at this text, there's no concern for the teachers. What this is a concern about is union dues. This is and I've been saying it from day one, and I knew God would send me what I needed. This is a concern about making sure that HFT's money is not messed up. I want to look at the money aspect of HFT. Let's look at number one. HFT charges just under $700 a year for teachers. Broken across paychecks, comes out at approximately $26 a month out of every single one of the 26 paychecks a year. Number two, HFT has approximately a 25%, 1 in 4 Houston ISD teachers participation rate. And three, however, although this is a minority of Houston ISD teachers with approximately 11,000 teachers employed by HISD, this would total an income of $1.9 million a year. Yes, believe it or not, that's how much HFT is taking in from HISD teachers, just slightly shy of $2 million a year, enough to afford campaign contributions to politicians. Why is that important? Because HFT was able to finagle the monthly consultation for unions as the only union that would go to monthly consultation with HISD. And the question now becomes, did HISD, because they're doing the automatic payroll deductions for the union, did they get any money off those payroll deductions? And the thing is, if they were getting the money, where was it going? So if they are not exclusive, being the only union out of tons of unions that represent people in the Houston Independent School District as teachers, custodial workers, kitchen workers, and bus drivers, if they ain't the only union doing it no more, and then they automatically kick them out from automatic payroll deductions, which one of y'all gonna give them y'all banking information? No, they will lose a bunch of union members. And honestly, it'll be okay if you don't give them your $700 a year. You save that, you run into a problem, you call me. You could save that money. And back in the day, they would tell you, oh, he ain't got no lawyers. Yeah, I do. Got plenty lawyers. But the reason I'm bringing it up, and I want to show it to you again, I just want to put it on the screen. Let's go here. The text that was sent out yesterday, unless you are dumb and blind, them marching and protesting is not about teachers. It's about protecting their union dues that they get from you. And the people that are standing in the front representing the bus drivers union and the teachers union, I need you to see me, are both black. Both of them are black. I'm saying it, and I guarantee you ain't nobody gonna call them out on it. Because that's the way that we're built. We won't say nothing about the black folk that's messing over us. We won't get out their unions. We won't stop dealing with them. We'll just stay and let them steal $700 a year from us. And if HFT got something to say about what I'm saying right now, then ask yourself, how many teachers did I have to represent that you wouldn't answer the phone for? How many teachers had to call me after you had took $700 from them, not answering the phone, not working for them, trying to get them to resign? You don't want to fight for them. How many of them have called me? But see, when you're in that circle of African-American ass kissers, that's more important than taking care of your people. That's more important. The question now becomes, there are organizations out there like the Texas Coalition of Black Democrats that's been found guilty by Texas Ethics, 2 of their members, of running illegal political PACs in the state of Texas. Money laundering, the whole 9 yards. This was discovered this year in February. Dr. Darnella Wilkerson, who has an honorary doctorate degree, along with an honorary doctorate degree for Terrence Shanks. Nobody who holds people accountable has called them out. And that even goes for Candace Matthews. She's the hammer of accountability. She's a member of the Texas Coalition of Black Democrats. She's now, from what I see, has been installed as the new president, and she's yet to call these Negroes out who've been removed from their executive board for the things that they were doing. So this is what I would tell people. Either you don't see what's going on, or you part of the problem. Are you part of the problem? Hold on a second. Hello. Yeah. Yeah, give me a second. I'm doing a show. I'll call you when I get through. Answer your phone. So nobody's calling these people out. And I'm going to tell you why they're not calling them out. Because they're Democrats, and everybody that I named was a Democratic op. They won't call them out. And we sit here every day in our communities and we suffer. Well, Gary Monroe don't. But my community suffers and I fight for them on a daily. And nobody wants to call them out on their BS. And we continue just to eat it and to eat it and to eat it and to eat it. And yet we keep complaining about what we don't have in our community. I hear the black folk, especially the ones that's politically inclined, always talking about the civil rights movement and, you know, honoring this person from back then and that person. Man, you turning them people over their grave. Y'all are not in the spirit of Brother Martin or Brother Malcolm. You're not in the spirit of Fred Shuttlesworth, Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seals. You're not in the spirit of Medgar Evers. You're not in the spirit of Barbara Jordan and Mickey Leland. Because the things that you guys do on a daily is embarrassing to the black community. And they have so much love for you just for being black that they won't call you out. And because you won't call them out, that's why our situation is so dire right now. And it's going to keep being that way until we start voting them out. It's going to keep being that way. Bobby Scott say today MLK was assassinated in Memphis. They don't give a damn, dog. They ain't none of them people finna do what he did. He knew he would die. And because he knew he would die and he died doing what he was doing, and at the end he started changing, started coming around to Malcolm's way of thinking. They're able to sit in the positions that they're able to sit in and steal from our community. They're not just stealing money. They're stealing hope. If you go through most of the black communities that are struggling, that are poor, that just can't get it together, they're hopeless. From the old folk to the youngsters. They're hopeless. And they don't believe that life can ever be better. A lot of young black people will not vote because they don't believe that their vote counts. Well, they're actually not wrong. They're not wrong. I'm sorry, but they're not. Because if their vote counted and mattered, the people who can make the change and affect change wouldn't do some of the things that they're doing. They would not do it. I'm not going to get out and celebrate anything with Dr. King with these people. I'm not going to do it. You know, I feel it's disrespectful. I celebrate him in my own way. I celebrate him in my own way, but I will not do it at all. I want to put your comment up, Pam Douglas, because we need to understand something. Pam said some of the people who do not vote benefit from those who do vote. How are we benefiting? That's a simple question. How are we benefiting? What has been done for us in the last 12 years as black people that benefited us? Ivana said, Malcolm was the only civil rights leader that talked about the black man pulling himself out of poverty by starting and build businesses, taking control over their own lives and not being dependent on others. So how have we benefited, the ones of us that vote, for the ones that don't vote? How have we benefited? I want to think about that. And I'm not criticizing your comment. I'm only asking a question. LGBTQ have more rights than black people. Thanks to Obama. Thanks to a black man, the LGBTQ have more rights, have had more bills passed to protect them than any of us black people. The Asians, same thing. So what exactly are we benefiting from? Eric Mays, council member in Flint, Michigan, has more guts than any elected official I've ever laid eyes on. He does not care. He will call you out in a heartbeat. And the thing about it is, we don't have that in every city. He's willing to go to jail for his communities. How many of the rest of them are? How many of the rest of them are? No matter what community you go to, you can leave Houston and go to Fort Bend. You got some niggas up in there in elected office playing games. You can leave there. You can go to other areas where black elected officials reside. Even in the country, it's always us that's playing the damn games and getting caught. Now, everybody play them, but we ignorant. We gonna always get caught, us. We always gonna make our community look bad. Pam Douglas says, not that it's a good thing. Some of these same people we're talking about don't vote and don't work. Do we understand what a permanent underclass is? Why is there hardly any free housing? And Pam say, but they will benefit from free housing. Why is there no free housing in the affluent white communities? Why aren't their communities saturated with liquor stores and check cashing places? Why are their schools not failing? Because people hold these people accountable. And Pam said free housing is definitely not a good thing. There's a permanent underclass in the United States of America. And that permanent underclass resides mostly in the African American community. They know what they've done to our community, so therefore they have to give them the free housing. Now, me, I'm the type of guy that will wake up every single morning and bust my behind because I don't want nothing free. I think if it's free, there's strings attached. So, and sometimes you get what you pay for. That's why when everybody be so up in arms, when they be seeing these apartments on the news and they're run down and they say, man, a lot of them people living there for free. They ain't on the streets. Let's look at what Ivana put. She said they were building low-income housing close to Tanglewood, River Oaks, until 3 weeks ago, until the wealthy put a stop to it. That's what I'm talking about. The wealthy, their elected officials, they pumped the brakes. But see, if they wouldn't have pumped the brakes, I can guarantee you everybody that represent their community will be gone in the next election. But we continue to support these suckers. Yeah. You continue to support the same failed black leadership that you've been supporting for the last 4 or 5 decades. And we can't understand why all the dope is in our community. All the guns on the streets are in our communities. Let's read her comment, Pam Douglas. Okay. We need politicians who will help black communities and their constituents be self-sufficient. Well, guess what? Vote them in. We're not voting them in. You know why we're not voting them in? Because we keep falling for that bullshit Rodnell is talking about. Because we keep falling for that bullshit Sheila Jackson Lee talking about. Boris Miles talking about. Our school system jacked up because we keep putting people on the school board that don't know a damn thing about education. So the things that are happening to our community, they ain't them white folk doing that to us. If we have a problem with low-income housing, Let's look at city council. Every single member of city council gets money from the Texas Association of Realtors, who basically set the market for how much money it costs to live in certain communities. So when you going through Third Ward and you say, man, you can't find a raggedy apartment for $1,500 a month, who sets the market for it? The Texas Association of Realtors. So who's taking money from them? All your city council people. Well, which city council person is there? I said all of them. All of them. I've seen the campaign finance reports. If you really want to know what's going on, they say follow the money. Anna says politicians don't want people to be self-sufficient because people would realize we don't need politicians. She is exactly right. What's the difference between a Republican and a Democrat? A Republican wants you to be self-sufficient. A Republican wants you to have your own business. They want you to get all them tax breaks, all that. What about a Democrat? They want you to stay dependent on the government. When the pandemic was popping, and then it got to a point where we could open Texas, who wanted you to stay dependent on the government? Who wanted to keep sending you, money, $1,200 every 6 or 7 months? Because they were spoon feeding you them stimulus checks like crack. And they were going to keep you dependent on the government as long as you could be dependent on the government. You have to open your eyes and see what's going on. And the thing about it is you have people like Houston Teachers United who's on Twitter that puts out tons of information on a daily. If you really want to know the truth, then you're going to start looking at some of this stuff. You have me that comes on. I'm in my 3rd year now, giving you the game every night. And we don't want to listen, but we will listen to them suckers who just using and abusing us. That's what we'll listen to. And then we complain about our situation because we don't want to admit we shouldn't have listened to them. People say we need to recreate Black Wall Street. That will never happen. Our elected officials will never allow that to happen because they want you to stay dependent on the government. And if you don't know what Black Wall Street is, Tulsa, Oklahoma, man, you know what I'm saying? Black businesses, black banks, black everything. The closest you've ever gotten back to Black Wall Street is Black ATL. But at the same time, man, you fell for it. My good friend Bobby Scott say we were self-sufficient until the government realized that throwing us a bone, which is welfare, will keep us under bondage. Yeah. Yes, sir. So we can't keep complaining about our situation because we're not doing nothing to change it. We keep believing everything that come across the news. When these people try to do something that's supposedly helping people, they're not helping us. They're crippling us. Why? I ain't gonna even touch that subject, but let me. I don't think Pam gets it. Pam Douglas said we must set ourselves up regardless to what party is in office. You will still be able to sustain your lifestyle. Socialism is not free. The middle class taxpayers are the individuals who are funding socialism. We have to worry about who's in office. There is no getting around that. I'm sorry, but there is. To me, with the subject matter that I'm talking about tonight, just that one comment is the problem. No, we have to look at who's representing us. And then when we're stuck in a bind and things are bad for us, then the first thing we want to say is Donald Trump did it. Did anybody realize in Harris County, in the city of Houston, that ain't a goddamn thing that Trump did in D.C. really affected us? But you watching Trump, but you ain't watching Turner. You ain't watching Rodney. You ain't watching Boris or Sheila. You watching Trump, who's on the federal level. But while you watching them, they scheming with the Houston Housing Authority. They scheming at the airport. They putting these goddamn bike lanes in our community that we didn't ask for. And they only putting them there because they want to run us out of the black communities. And then they run your ass out to the suburbs, and now you living out there thinking you got something. Ivana say, isn't it true that Donald Trump has done more for the black man since Lyndon B. Johnson civil rights law? You could look at it and say that he has done a lot. Yeah. You know, I mean, he, got indicted 34 counts today for basically paying a porn star to sleep with her. Right? Republican. Did you still send Bill Clinton to jail for getting a little meat sucked? I asked a question, and I want to answer. When Democratic Bill Clinton got a little meat sucked, did you send him to jail? This ain't rocket science. It's not rocket science, bro. I ain't got time to hold Republicans accountable in a community that's governed by Democrats. I'm not going to do it. They're not my representatives in my community. I have Democratic representation that ain't did jack shit. They ain't did nothing. But yet, we want to take a picture with these suckers. We want to be up under them like, come on, man. Black politicians are failing. And they're failing atrociously across the country. And all of our communities are hurting because we will not hold them accountable. And we can't find a justified reason as to why we won't. But let Gary Monroe run a stop sign, don't pay the ticket, and then run for school board again. They gonna act like I'm Pablo Escobar. They tried to drag me with the getting, banned from the school system. But when I won the lawsuit, they barely even reported on the fact that we won $500,000 for these folks trying to violate my constitutional rights. Kenitra Walker says Trump believed in self-sufficiency. Black folks don't like being uncomfortable. Folks are mad because they found out who folks they thought were their friends were actually racist. Trump played a game to get us what we needed. Now we're broke, but we're comfortable. Exactly. Exactly. And the same people that talk down on him, like Al Sharpton and all them, you wasn't talking down on him when you was making money with him. When he was just in the real estate game. The rappers that's talking down on him, you wasn't talking down when you was referencing him in your songs. We just jump on anything that comes out, especially with our people. But when the negative comes out, we don't want to hold them accountable. We don't want to hold them accountable. And the question is why? Say, man, it's the Warzone. And I'm the 5-star general. Until tomorrow night, I'll let you.